today doing Daf Lamed Chet, Amud Aleph. We're going to pick up from, we were in the middle of case on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Bet, where it says pretty like in the middle of the fat part, where it says Safek ve'yavam, Safek u'bnei yavam sheba'u lachlok b'nechsei yavam. So the case was like this. You have, just to quickly recap, you have Reuven who died, and Shimon, his brother, did Yibum. And then this lady had a son, and we're not sure, the son is a Safek, we're not sure if he's from Reuven or from Shimon. And Shimon has other children also. So, the case is, Safek uvnei Yavam, sheba'u lachlok b'nechsei Yavam. So now, Shimon, the Yavam, dies. It's page Lamed Zayin Amud Bet. It's, the first word on the line is et in the wide lines. It's a Safek uvnei Yavam sheba'u lachloch b'nechsei Yavam. So you have this Safek child and the children of Shimon, the children of the Yavam, that they're coming to divide Shimon's nechasim. Shimon died and they're coming to be Yoresh Shimon. Lebater depalig Yavam b'nechsei mitna. After the Yavam already split the nechasim of his brother with the Safek. So basically what happened was, Reuven died and his brother did Yibum, and then later on his brother and this child had a machloket. One of them, the child said, I get the Yerusha, I'm the child of Reuven. The brother said, no, you're my child, I get the Yerusha. So they went to Beit Din. Beit Din said split it 50-50. Okay, then now Shimon dies, and now the children of Shimon are having a machloket with this Safek child. The children of Shimon, they say, listen, you're not our brother. You got to bring a proof. You want some of the Yerusha, you got to bring a proof that you're our brother. Amar lehu Safek. So the Safek child says back to them, he says, Manav shaychu. Well, however you want, I'm going to get something. If I'm your brother, so then okay, you have to give me a portion of the Yerusha over here. V'bar mitna ana havuli palga de palagavuchun bahadai. And if you're telling me I'm the child of the mit, so you gotta return the 50% of Reuven's assets that your father took. So Rabbi Abba Amarav Kamdina. Rabbi Abba Amarav says that the first din that we paskin, that they each get 50-50, we don't go back on that. That's already a psak of Beit Din, and that's it. We don't go back on that. And now the
Safek boy,
the Safek boy doesn't get that 50% back, and the other brothers could say, listen, we don't have to give you anything. You have to prove to us that you deserve, that you earn, that you're a brother. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar Hadar Dina. Rabbi Yirmiyah says no, he has a good claim, and we could go back on the original psak, and he could either get his 50% back, or they could include him as a brother. He has a right claim. So Lema Plukta Admon v'Rabbanan Kamifligi. So the Gemara wants to suggest maybe they're arguing about the same machloket Admon and Rabbanan. Detnan Misha Alach Limdinat Hayam v'Avdalo Derech Sadeu. Somebody he left town and he had a path that he owned that led to his field. His field is surrounded by other properties. He had a path that cut through one of the properties that he owned. And he was gone for a few years. He came back. He doesn't remember where his path is. So Admon Amar Yelech Biktsara. Admon says, so they have to give him the shortest path. V'chachamim omrim yikach lo derech b'me'amana o yifrach ba'avir. Chachamim say no. He has to buy a new path. He doesn't know where it is. He lost it. He has to buy a new one. So Vavinan Baal Rabbanan Shapir Kamar Admon. The Gemara says we ask over here that Admon, who said give him the smallest path, it makes sense. It's something that's very sensical. If somebody owns the field around him, so either way he's going to have to give him a path. He owns that path. He has to give him the shortest one. Rabbi Yehuda says no. The case is that surrounding the property, right? It's not one guy who owns everything that you could say, listen, give me your shortest path. I know I have a path that goes through your property. Just give me your shortest one. It's not one guy. It's four different people. So he goes to the guy on the north. The guy says, listen, it wasn't in my property. I'm not giving you anything. Goes to the next guy. He says, it wasn't in mine. I'm not giving you anything. Each guy could claim it wasn't in his, and the person is left with no choice but to buy a path from somebody. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, if that's the case, my ta'amad admon. How come Admon says, meaning either way, one opinion is not going to make sense. If one guy owns all the property around, so Admon is right. Take the cheap, give him the smallest property, the minimum that you know he had, the minimum path. And if different people own it, so then Chachamim are right. You can't force any single person to give for free. You have to buy it. So V'amar Rava, ba'arba'a da'atu mikoach arba, v'arba'a da'atu mikoach chad, kule alma lo pligi, dematsu matchile. If right now four different people own it, everyone agrees that they could force him to go to the next guy, and basically he's gonna be left. He can't get it back. He can't retrieve it. Every person could tell him, listen, I don't owe you anything. Prove to me that I owe you something and I'll pay you, but I don't owe you anything. So he's going to have to buy a new path. Ki pligi, when do they have this machloket? Bechad da'ati mikoach arba. Cases like this. I owned a field in the middle, and there were four different people who owned fields on the sides. One guy on the north, one guy on the south, one guy on the east, one guy on the west. Okay? And then what happened is, one person bought out all the fields around. So now all the fields are owned by one person. But beforehand, they were owned by four different people. So Admon says he has to give you the minimum field. Why? Matzi amarle mikol makom darchi gabachu. You can say, listen, at the end of the day, wherever my path was, right now it's in your property. So I own a path that was in your property right now. So you right now, one person owns it. You got to give me, what you owe me. Rabbanan say no. He can't force the guy to give him a path through the property. Why? Because they say da'amar le, because the guy has a claim. The owner of the property surrounding it has a claim. He says, Ish shatakta shatakta. He says, listen, if you're quiet, you're quiet. Ve'ilo mahadrin ashtara lemarayhu v'lomatit li'ishtawi dina bahadayhu. And if not, meaning basically, if you want to pay, you'll pay. If you want to buy one from me and just be quiet and buy it, I'll sell you land. But if not, then you're not gonna get anything, because I'm gonna return the field to the people who it belonged to beforehand, and it's gonna belong to four different people, and they could each push you off and tell you, listen, it's not in my field. Your path is not in my field. Get lost. So the Gemara wants to say, Lema Rabbi Abba, who said Kam Dina, who said that we don't go back on the original psak, Damar Karabanan. He goes like the Rabbanan, that the Rabbanan say that once, since before it was owned by four people and you couldn't get your field back, that's it. You couldn't get your path back, that's it. It's done. We don't change from that original, we don't go back to the way it was before. Rabbi Yirmiyah, who holds Hadar Dina, who says that we take back the original psak, will revert the din back. So the Amar ke Admon, he goes like Admon. That Admon says no. We'll go back to on the previous psak, even though beforehand it was owned by four people and you couldn't get your field, but we'll revert back and we'll right now give you your path to your field. To Amar lecha Rabbi Abba. So the Gemara says this is suggesting that Rabbi Abba, who holds in the case of the Safek making a claim, he says Kam Dina, we don't go back on the original Pesach. He goes like Rabbanan. So Gemara says no. Rabbi Abba will tell you, Rabbi Abba, Ana Damri Afilu Ke'admon. He'll tell you, I'm even going like Admon. Arkan lo Kamar Admon Hatam Ela Mishum Da'amar Le Miman Avshach Darchi Gabach Darchi Chad Gabachu. When in the case of Admon only said over there that you have to give him a field, and we revert the psak. We go back to what it was before. He was able to be pushed off. So he only says that because right now miman avshach, a path is by the guy. He has a claim of miman afshach. I vadai have something by you. Vadai, I know what I'm claiming. I have a path, and vadai, you're an owner that of that path currently. So I have a vadai claim. Aval hacha mi kalamei marachi. But here, in the case of the safek mi kalamei marachi, are you able to claim this? He can't claim this. He doesn't have a vadai claim on anything. Rabbi Yirmiyah will say, Ana damri afilu Rabbanan. Rabbi Yirmiyah will say, I even paskin like Rabbanan. Akan lo kamer Rabbanan hatam ela mishum damar le isha takta shatakti v'lo mahadron l'shtar l'marayhu. Rabbanan, they only say what they say in the case of the field of the guy who lost his field. That Rabbanan say that he has to make him pay. Why? Because the guy has a claim. The buyer of the land surrounding the field has a claim that he could say, listen, I could return the field. If you want to pay, you pay. If not, I'll return it, and it'll just revert back to being 4 different owners, and they could be marcheyu. They could push you off. You're not going to be able to pull anything out of them. So since you can't pull anything out of them, you shouldn't be able to pull anything out of me either, because I could just return it to them, and you won't be able to get anything. But over here, we don't have such a claim. So either way, the Gemara says not necessarily do we say that Rabbi Abba is going like Rabbanan and Rabbi Yirmiyah is going like Admon. They could each be going like the other Shita as well. Okay. But either way, we're left with the machloket of Kam Dina versus Hadar Dina, what to do in the case of the Safek who wants to split with the Bnei Yavam. Okay, Safek ve'Yavam. Next case, Safek ve'Yavam sheba'u lachlok b'nechsei Saba. So now the case is that the grandfather died, Reuven and Shimon's father died, and the Safek and the Yavam, they want to split the nechasim. So who's saying what? So Safek Amar Hagavra Bar Mitnahu Upalga Didihu. So the Safek says, listen, I'm your nephew. I'm the son of Reuven who died. So I get Reuven's portion of the Yerusha of our grandfather. V'yavam amar at berai didiat velet lach velo midi. The Yavam says, you are my son. You're not Reuven's son, you're my son. And the Yerusha of our grandfather, of my father, goes to me, and none of it goes to you. So, have Yavam vadai. V'safek safek. So the Yavam is vadai a yoresh of the father, and the Safek is really a Safek. He may be the son of Reuven, in which case he's a yoresh of the father. He may be the son of Shimon, in which case he is not a yoresh of the grandfather. So ein safek motzi midei vadai. We have a rule that ein safek motzi midei vadai. Therefore, the Safek cannot take any money. He doesn't have any valid claim to the Yerusha because he can't take from the Vadai, from the Yavam, who Vadai has a portion of the Yerusha. Okay, next case is Safek uvnei Yavam sheba'u lachlok b'nechsei Saba. So you have the Safek and Bnei Yavam. So now you have this Safek child and Shimon's children, the children of the Yavam, who are coming to split the nechasim of the Saba, of the grandfather. Safek amaru gavra bar mitnau. So the Safek says, I'm the son of the Met. Upalga didihu. And I get half of what the grandfather left over. Because he's saying, I'm the son of Reuven. So the grandfather's things are split evenly, 50-50 to Reuven and Shimon. And then he's saying, I get Reuven's whole portion, and you split Shimon's portion. Uvnei Avam Amrei, Achunaat, Umitna, Umanta, Idlach Ba'adan. And the Bnei Yavam, they say that you are our brother, and therefore we're splitting it evenly 3 ways. You don't get half, and we split half, right? Basically, the way the Safek wants to do it is, I get 50%, and you two brothers, the sons of Shimon, you split that other 50%, you get 25% each. The brothers of Shimon are saying, no, we're splitting everything equally. We're getting a third each. We're getting 33% each. So essentially, the brothers, the sons of Shimon, they agree that Reuven gets half. They agree that he gets 1/3, and the son and the Safek agrees that they get half. So Palga, we're right before the Mishnah, a few lines before the Mishnah. So Palga dekamodi lehu shakli, the half that he agrees to them that they take that half, and tilta dekamodule, and the 1/3 that they agree to the Safek, so shakal, he takes that. So pashlu danka, so we're left with 1/6. That 1/6, they're cholek, they split. So the case was like this, that the grandfather now died, so you have this Safek child, you have one Safek child and the two children of Vadai, children of Shimon. The Safek child is saying, listen, I'm not your brother, I come from Reuven, so I get 50% of the Yerusha of the grandfather, and you split the other 50%. I'm son of Reuven, you're son of you. And the brother is saying, no, we're all brothers, we each get 33%, we're splitting evenly. Right? So let's say he left $6 million. So the Safek is saying, I get 3, you guys get 1.5 each. And they're saying, no, we each get 2 million. We're each splitting 2 million evenly. Okay? So they agree that he gets 1/3. So 1/3 he gets. 2 million he gets. He agrees that they get 50%. So 3 million they get. So 3 million they get between both of them. Right, 1.5 each. This guy gets 2 million, right? So we're left with 1 million. That last 1 million that they have a machloket on, they split. That's how it's gonna go. Okay, Saba veYavam b'nechsei Safek. So last two cases are, you have the grandfather and the Yavam arguing over the nechasim of the Safek. We have to go a little bit fast because the next Mishnah requires some explanation also. But Saba veYavam b'nechsei Safek. So you have the grandfather and the Yavam arguing about the nechasim of the Safek. So basically the Yavam is saying it's my son, and this Safek is really my son, and I am Yoreshim. The grandfather is saying, no, how do you know he's your son? Maybe it was my first child's son, my other child, Reuven's son. Maybe he's not your son. He's the other brother's son. He's your nephew, and I'm Yoreshim. Or Saba v'Safek b'nechsei Yavam, or the Saba and the Safek are arguing about the nechasim of the Yavam. Let's say the Yavam only had this child, or this Safek. So the Safek is saying, oh, he's my father, I'm Yoreshim. And the grandfather is saying, no, he's not your father, he's your uncle, I'm Yoreshim. So, heaven, mamon, amutal, v'safek, v'cholkin. In those two cases, cholkin, they split because it's a safek that there's no muchzak on, and we have no way of finding out who is the correct yoresh, therefore they split. Okay. Shomeret Yavam, shenafla nechasim, Okay, so this Mishnah is talking about the rights of the lady to sell. So, it's drop confusing just because it's not really super related to what we're talking about. Yeah. So basically like this. So a lady, there's certain things that when she gets married, there's certain things that she brings into the marriage. Okay? And there are different stages of marriage also. Right? First, she's an arusa, and then she's a nisua. So at different points, she has different authority of her properties that she brings into the marriage she could sell. Okay? So now let's just focus on what we're talking about. Shomeret Yavam, Shenaf Lula Nechasim. So this lady, she's a Shomeret Yavam, which means she's waiting to do Yibum. Okay, her husband died, she's waiting to do Yibum, and now she got some type of Yerusha or something, and some Nechasim came to her, now she owns a field. So Modim Beit Shammai u Beit Hillel, Shemocheret v'notenet v'kayam. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel agree that when she's waiting for Yibum, nobody could stop her from selling it. She doesn't have a husband that can stop her from selling it right now, and the Yavam is not enough of a husband to her that he can stop her from selling it. She has the right to sell it. Meta, if she dies, ma yaseh b'chtuvata, what's the deal with her ktuba and the money that she has the rights to, and with the nechasim. It's called nechsei melug. Basically, it's important to know there's two types of properties that a woman could bring into the marriage. There's something called nechsei tzon barzel, which are possessions that she brings into the marriage that the husband is responsible to return the value. If there's a divorce or if he dies, it's written in the ketubah that he accepts upon himself, like nechsei tzon barzel, that he has to return the value. So if she brought jewelry into the marriage valued at $500,000, so he has to return to her that value. And even if it went up over the years or went down over the years, doesn't matter. The value of the items that she brought in at the time that she brought it in. Nechsei melug is items that she brings in.
At the time brought in, or because the value is going to go up?
Yeah, if it goes up, he keeps it goes up. If it goes down, he eats the loss. Let's say she brings something in, I don't know, she brings in clothes and furniture.
Gold, okay? 10 ounce gold, that time was $200. Now it's $5,000.
Yeah, so if she brought it in as nechsei tzon barzel, which means that that means that the husband is just responsible for the value, right? If it's nechsei melug means her husband has to give her back the item. So if it goes down, let's say she comes in the marriage with 5 cows, and they all die. So if it's nechsei tzon barzel, the husband has to give her the value of the animals at the time that she came in. If it's nechsei melug, so they're dead. There's nothing to give her anymore. It's her loss, right? So now the case is over here. Meta, she died. Ma yaseh biktuvata uvnechasim hanichnesin v'yotzinima. So what's the deal with her ketubah and her items? She died now, but she's waiting to do yibum. So Beit Shammai omrim yachloku yorshei abalim yorsheav. Beit Shammai says her father's yorshim and her husband's yorshim. Her husband's yorshim and her father's yorshim split it, which means the brothers. Let's say because if it doesn't matter though, if who's yoresh her? That's the question. She's now waiting to do yibum. Yeah, but she doesn't have a husband. Her husband died. She's waiting to do yibum. Okay? She dies. Now she has ketubah money and she has nechasim that she brought into the marriage that she took out. Now so let's say there's only, just to make it easier, let's say there's one brother here waiting to do yibum. So this brother would say, oh, listen, she's connected to me. I was going to do yibum. I should be yoresher. And the father is saying, no, her husband died. She doesn't have a husband. Now I'm yoresher. So, yachloku. It's machloke Beit Shammai behila. Beit Shammai omrim yachloku. Yorshei habalim yorshei. Beit Shammai says they split it. They divide it, yeah. Beit Hillel omrim nechasim becheskatan. Beit Hillel says everything stays with whoever is muchzak, with the chazaka. So, ktuva becheskat yorshei habal. The ketubah, that was, that originally belonged to the husband. That's coming from the husband's account. So that goes to the yorshim of the husband. Yeah. And nechasim nechnesin v'yotzinima, anything that was nechsei melug, that she brought into the marriage that's hers, that she's taking out. Let's say she brought in gold or jewelry or whatever that's hers, that she's taking out. Yeah, that's yorsheav. That goes to the father. So we have machloket Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Okay, Beit Shammai says they split. Beit Hillel says, well, we have to see what everything stays with the muchzak. Now, kansa, if she got married, the yavam married her, so harehi keishto lechol davar, that she's considered fully his wife. But the money that she gets for the ketuvah, that's collected from the property of the original husband. Okay, so it's a loaded mission, a lot of things here. Let's just try to get through the first part. So Maishna Resha de lo pligi, umaishna sefa de pligi. So the question of the Gemara is like this. In the very beginning, we said that if she gets property, she's not allowed to sell it. Why is she not allowed to sell it? I'm sorry. If she gets property, she's allowed to sell it. Her husband cannot stop her from selling it. The Yavam cannot stop her from selling it. She's not fully married. She's just a Shomeret Yavam. She's waiting to do Yibum. The Yavam cannot stop her from selling any property that she gets. But in the Seifa, it's not true. In the case where she died, she also has property. We're saying that others have claims on her property. It sounds like the husband, the not the husband, the Yavam has some sort of claim on her property. Well, why? Why is he splitting it with the? It's her. If she has the right to sell her property, it should go to her father. Why is there any chalukah here? Why is there cholkin? So Amar Ula. So Ula says like this: Resha denaflak shi arusa, v'sefer denaflak shehi nisua. So Ula says we're talking about two different yavamas here. One is her husband originally did kiddushin just. He just did kiddushin. And then she got some properties that she wanted to sell. And then her husband died. So she's a Yevama, she's a Shomer Yavam from Kiddushin. The second case is she's a Shomer Yavam from Nisuin. So the Gemara is going to explain. Boker Tov. So the Gemara is going to explain. V'kasavar Ula zikat arusa ose safek arusa. Ula holds that the zikah of an arusa, of somebody who just had kiddushin and fell to yibum, that we treat that in this scenario like a safek arusa, and zikat nisua safek nisua, and the zika of the lady who was fully married and fell to yibum, we treat like a safek nisua. Now, how is this going to explain our Mishnah? So the Gemara explains. We'll just read a couple more lines. Zikat arusa ose safek arusa. The zikah of the arusa makes her a safek arusa, and therefore she's going to have the right to sell it completely according to everybody. Maybe we'll stop here. Because put on tefillin for Shachrit. People are gonna come. Don't worry.
You sure?
Yeah, people will come.